then she was the one who said, well, I think you're talking about yourself. She's like, you should run. And so by the end of then I came back on Monday and started Googling how to become a candidate. Yeah, it was really hard though. It's definitely not an easy experience. Yeah.
So glad that you did that for us, for this community. You know, when you think about it, Facebook, Cambridge Analytica, Google Breakout, like this stuff is huge, and it's huge from a national policy level. I mean, even just things like, you know, we look at the money laundering and the lack of beneficial ownership knowledge, and how do you actually,
and you can't share data, and you can't link data, but then you have to bust the bad guys, but you can't bust the bad guys because you're not allowed to. Yeah. So
it's a really, really important. I want to call it unsexy, but it is kind of sexy. But it's just really, it's pivotal policy work. And
I think it is. I think climate change coupled with like our behavioral response as humans to climate change, like how are we all going to behave differently, coupled with what are we going to do to protect ourselves against like sort of the changes that technology are going to bring. To me, those are kind of the two big issues. We all seem to be bracing for the science of climate change, but you know, for me, ultimately, like I think a lot of humans need to decide to live differently to address that problem. Technology alone is not going to solve it.
So what would you like to ask Jessie Adcock in the back?
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I know the city of Vancouver is a very patriarchal system. So,
sorry, I was trying to get a look at your face.
yes. So tell me about this playing the game.
Yeah.
When are we going to move past that?
Never.
Well, if we don't move past that, I don't think technology is going to help women in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that it's sort of something I think it needs to be addressed pretty loud, and because we're dealing with a lot of unconscious bias. We're dealing with an organization that has muscle to gang up on women who have an opinion. I think that it's inevitable. It needs to be addressed. And I understand that people who are playing the game are moving ahead in that, but there are individuals who have opinions, who have strong ideals that are being held back because of that. And I don't think that's fair to women at all.
no, and I think the context of my comment wasn't the game in the sense of the city, hey? My context was the world and life and the power structures that exist.
Do you think we need gender management in this country?
I
Because
don't
they're
know what you
proposing
mean.
it from the Women's Status of Canada, and they believe that particular public organizations that are having a hard time, you know, sort of equitizing for women, they want to put them on sites and sort of get everybody on board modern thinking.
What is gender management?
Yeah,
So
what's
gender
that mean?
management would come into facilities that are having problems with equitizing for women, perceiving women as an integral part to the organization. Their opinions and the way in which they execute their opinions are not going to be discriminated against because women don't speak like that. Some of the organizations are male heavy, so they indeed need to think differently in order to welcome women onto their organizations. So this is gender management. And help women who also are caught in unconscious bias, that are having a hard time managing themselves because of the guilt that they're dealing with, because of the conditioning we've been brought up with. That's gender management.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the solution is. I only know what my own personal experience has been, right? And so whether it's navigating a soccer field or whether it's navigating the political system or a job, like I'm not talking about any one specific organization, because to me that is not necessarily going to affect the kind of global change we need. People are born with implicit bias, and no amount of management is going to fix implicit bias. We can educate them, we can hope and pray for their self-awareness to dawn upon them. But at the end of the day, if we are going to continue to push through the kind of like shatter the ceilings, push through, make room for people to come in behind us, we have to understand what we're dealing with and contending with in the here and now as well. So maybe we need to address the issue through multiple kind of streams. One is education, others is like resources where organizations can come in and help kind of open the minds of certain organizations. But I think getting women into leadership positions is really important, and you can't fly them in. right? You can't lead unless you earn the leadership role, and you're only gonna earn it if you kind of move your way through the organization.
And I just think of, thank you for your question, your comment. I'm gonna go Google gender management. It's actually a new, it's a new term for me. I had some commentary, but I think I'm gonna zip it and go back to the audience and look for more questions.
What is the city doing?
Like, they're not glamorous things, but they're very, very meat and potatoes, hedging against all the technology that's running the city.
Very proactive.
Very proactive and sort of getting ahead of it. How we allocate, because we also, you know, the cost of technology keeps going up and up. And now a lot of the technology is moving to the cloud. And cloud costs more money in terms of monthly bills. It's like your Netflix. You like everybody wants to pay bills. It's like your Netflix. You like everybody wants to pay, get a subscription model.
And you minimize the internal cost.
Yes and no. So we have now built a total cost of, like, we've done things like build business case templates to actually address whether or not you know, which one makes more sense on a 10-year basis, as opposed to, so we had to figure out how to do the math on that, because sometimes it does, but other times it doesn't. Especially because the data cost, storage is actually the big one, as you can predict, and we're funded through taxpayer dollars, so we can't take that liability on for taxpayers.
Thank you.
My name's Wendy. I just wondered, you were hired by the city in 2015. So
14.
Okay, so what allowed the city, to be, so somebody to be forward thinking, to think, hey, we gotta go this way big time?
Yeah, it was, so there was two things. One, it was mayor and council at the time, in their travels, had been seeing, you know, New York and Chicago and London and other cities around the world kind of moving towards this. Internally, though, on the staff side, what was happening is all the capital projects that the different lines of business were putting forward all had technology attached to them. And there was no way of understanding which one's more important, what should we do, should they connect. So we were sort of very, we had rudimentary kind of infrastructure in place to address all of these. So they brought in a company to do an assessment, like, how do we handle this? We have all these projects and all these divisions asking for technology. And they're the ones who then came up with, okay, here's other cities around the world are managing it this way. You could manage it, and we had a 4-pillar strategy.
Okay.
And the first pillar was digital engagement and access. So it was, how do we, at the time there was no social media, for example, account for the city. How do we as a city use digital engagement or technology to better engage citizens, deliver services? One was around infrastructure and assets. So as the world gets more technical, the new utility becomes internet connection, and fiber optics becomes just as important as your sewer pipes and your water pipes. A third one was around digital economy. So as the economy starts to diversify, what role should the city play in ensuring that we continue to have a technology focus to the growth locally? And then the fourth one was the actual city itself. The city needs to become more and more technical in how it runs the city, because we need to sort of find how to be more efficient. And so that's how it all came about. So it was thought out and researched, and then it passed council in 2013. And the first order of business was go and recruit somebody now to lead it. And so that's when I was brought into the city.
Good job.
Thank you.
I think we've got time for one last question. Was it you, Jennifer? Yes, welcome.
I'm just curious about, you talked about your leadership. I'm curious, like, when you were first starting out, like, what were the moments for you where you were like, I think there's a switch for people where they're like, okay, I can be a leader. I'm not just a person who's like taking orders. I'm not just a person who can be. I'm kind of curious about those moments.
I don't know if that switch has ever gone off, Jen.
Good.
Because I struggle, like, sort of, I think it's innate, some of it, right? Some of it is just you see a fire and you jump to put the fire out. You don't calculate, I'm gonna jump to put the fire out. Or like, my big thing has always been consensus and facilitation. So I'm not sure that if I led so much as I was able to bring the best out in people. because I was able to, in so many times, get different groups with different opinions on the same page, moving forward together. So by actually like facilitating. It wasn't until this job that I actually thought that I had leadership qualities that were, I guess, I don't know, valuable. I think up until this point, I've always just sort of thought of myself as sort of bossy and perfectionist and just want to get the work done. I actually didn't realize until this job where for the first time in my whole career, I'm kind of doing my job in a fishbowl, right? Anybody can access my calendar through FOI. Anybody can ask for my emails. I get asked to do this kind of stuff. And it was only when I came to start doing this and we started doing well compared to like our other peers, and now even the sort of all companies in town are poaching talent from my team. So it's like, okay, we must be doing something good if we're taking people out of government to fill private sector jobs. So it wasn't, I mean, it's a work in progress. I don't think you ever really, and then I don't know how many, I step into it, but like there's always, for me, always an underlying, I guess, threat of self-consciousness.
Jessie, what an amazing life and career you've had. And you make yourself, dare I say, sound like an accidental leader, but I would say it's pretty clear to those of us in the room that you own this in such a huge way. You've got 1 minute before we have to close and say our thank yous. Do you have anything you want to say about mentorship, having been mentored or mentoring others? Is there any kind of thing that's on your mind? And it's okay if not.
No, so I get asked about mentorship a lot.
Yeah.
The one thing that I always tell people is there's been a trend in the last few years to sort of identify mentors. And a lot of young women will reach out to me and ask, can you be my mentor? And for me, mentorship comes in many ways. It can be, unintentional conversations. It could be a book. It could be a lesson in a movie. And I think that one of the things that we as society sometimes do is overcomplicate and overthink certain principles. And like this principle of mentorship is definitely you need to coach and teach and impart lessons. But we've been doing that as human beings and clans and tribes and storytellers for years. I think the notion that the mentorship equates, like so many young girls are holding themselves back from careers in technology and science and engineering because they've bought into this idea that, well, I don't have a mentor, so I can't take it to the next level. So for me, I want to just dispel that myth. It's like, don't look for mentorships in a single individual. Look, like, just open yourself up to life's lessons.
And go work in tech.
Go work seriously. I need it. I don't have a tech degree. Right? So, actually, most women leaders in executive positions in town don't have a technology degree. The ones who are leading tech organizations. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, Jessie, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So. Thank you so much. We've been asked to remind you that there is a wonderful exhibition 1 floor down. So if you have a moment to pop by, please do. And thank you so much for coming.
Moderator,